this is kind of the modern term that's applied to it, but for many years they were never considered lost. Their location was always known. They were known to have, as I said, spread into northern Iran, and most importantly, into Armenia. And from Armenia into southern Russia. And in southern Russia, which was the land of the Scythians. This is very important. At the time, ancient authors described the Scythians as being red-haired and green-eyed. And so this is where, we're going to get into familiar territory maybe. The Prose Eddas claim that Odin came from Scythia.
Okay, really?
Yes. And in fact, genealogical studies have now discovered that there's a link, there's a specific genetic marker which can be traced to Central Asia, specifically the one identified with red hair.
Yes, there is a relationship you're saying here between the northern races and the Scythians or the Scythians, yes.
Exactly, the Scythians, and then so this red hair can be traced almost entirely in Scotland, in parts of Scandinavia, in parts of Central Asia, like places like northern Pakistan and Afghanistan, and among Jews, where it's most common.
Okay.
So the Scythians eventually, several centuries later, convert to Judaism, and they're known now as Khazars.
Khazars, okay.
And what happens is that I guess it's the Rus who conquer the Khazars and basically eliminate their kingdom, and these remnants of the Khazars then migrate into several parts of Europe. And they produce the aristocratic families of Hungary and Poland and Bulgaria.
Okay, so we come around the circle there again, and then you're saying, so with this marriage between the Hungarian princess, was it, and I forgot what you mentioned. What king was it again we were talking about?
Malcolm III of Scotland.
There you go. Okay, so these two branches, so to speak, then are coming together again. Is that what you're saying here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the person who goes to fetch Agatha, because she's actually partly what is she? She's partly British, but her mother was a Eastern European princess. There's a bit of controversy in this. So there's various claims of this or that, but that's essentially the point. And the person who goes to fetch her back from Bulgaria is the first William Sinclair.
Okay, really?
The Sinclairs are the family of the Holy Grail. This Sinclair, right? Sinclair, Plantal, same family. This is what the Da Vinci Code is trying to tell us.
Right.
And that she discovers at the end of the book that she is a Sinclair, because the Sinclairs are the hereditary guardians of Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland.
Right.
And so this is where you get this bloodline. You get this bloodline being a mix of of this dynasty from Malcolm III and the Sinclairs, which produce numerous families like the Bruces, the Campbells, the Kennedys, the Douglases, all these families. What's Diana's family, the Spencers, and so on and so forth.
So you're saying that these guys are all over the place right now, then?
Oh well, they are the aristocracy.
Right, yeah. But it isn't specifically like, this line specifically within the Sinclairs now, then, because the Sinclairs, as you say, then are related to all these other families which have the same, which is of the same original bloodline, correct?
There's degrees of purity, right?
Right.
It's a managed bloodline.
Yeah.
So you gotta imagine each person as being like a test tube, right? So in this continuing experiment, you keep having these, it keeps having to branch off into degrading levels of purity, but you always have, the specific leading individuals who represent the purest, formulations of it.
And would you say that this is on their level still to this day a kind of experiment, because they haven't been able to birth this child, this as they would see as the Messiah?
I don't. No, because it's all in time. I don't think it's an experiment.
Right.
I was shocked by the degree of organization that I saw in the way that these bloodlines are maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Shocked.
Mm-hmm.
There's patterns to it.
Can you take an example?
Well, it mostly takes place in the women, and you'll see that I haven't certified this absolutely, but from what I discovered is that there's every few generations, approximately every fourth generation, so the bloodline would branch off and then come back after about the fourth generation. Okay. And often the woman would retake the name, and so the woman's name would somehow represent, like she would retake the name of the woman of the fourth generation before that, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bizarre things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, would you say that? Oh, give me a second. I lost my point there. Yeah. Okay. I remember it again. Who do you think is overseeing this? Because this must be an incredible, difficult kind of thing to root out and scope out, and someone must be up there and to try to keep track on all this, right?
I can only assume Lucifer is looking over it.
Really?
Yeah.
And he lives for several hundred years, forever? What's the score here?
Well, that's the point. Is according to Islamic doctrine, the devil is not a fallen angel. He is a species of being that existed before human beings did, and they're essentially disembodied beings. They're produced of a different kind of composition than human beings. These beings have been witnessed throughout history and still do to this day. And this is what the occultists claim to do: is channel these people or possess them or bring them forth. Pictures of ghosts have been captured on film and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And so what happens is that when the human being is created, he refuses to honor him. So God immediately casts him out. But the devil begs for respite, and it's granted to him. So God basically allows the devil to prove to God that the human being is worthless. But essentially it serves the purpose of providing the trial necessary for us to prove our devotion to God. We're an exceptional creature because we have free will.
Sorry to interrupt, but you're saying that in that case that Lucifer serves a higher purpose, that he's still a pawn in the game of God then, in a way, right?
Absolutely, because we have free will, which there's no, we will be the beings who will choose to love God, right? Not being created to love God, but to be able to choose, we have to have an option, an alternative,
sure,
and a challenge. And Lucifer provides that challenge. So what he's doing is essentially he's trying to prove on a grand scale our worthlessness, and he's doing so by inducing us to create our own prison, which will be a worldwide dictatorship. So it'll be the ultimate humiliation of us creating our own
enslavement,
our own enslavement, our own demise,
right,
of creating the opposite of justice, the opposite of those rules which were originally revealed to the Jewish people,
and
the Ten Commandments.
Would you say that what's Lucifer's plan in regards to the bloodline? Is he still interested in creating the Antichrist then from this bloodline in order to help him in his agenda, or what's his part in this?
I don't know, but it seems to be the case, and it's his family. I believe that's why they say the Father. When these pseudo-Christians say the Father, I believe they're Gnostically, secretly speaking, referring to Lucifer, their father, as opposed to God. God.
All right. Hey, listen, I want to talk a little bit about. I mean, there's so many things we can go from here, obviously, and there's so much to talk about. We've kind of very much talked about the overarching picture here, so to speak. But one thing I saw in chapter 14, I think, of your book, you have something called the Palladian Rite. Tell us a little bit about that, if you will. I find that term interesting, that it has popped up in a few different contexts here lately. But tell us about the Palladian Rite and what it is.
Palladian Rite was supposedly, now there's a lot of controversy about this Palladian Rite because it was revealed by Leo Taxil, who supposedly recanted after, but it doesn't make any sense. He must have been forced to recant because it aligns too well with too many other. Tell our listeners briefly about Leo Taxil, if you will. I don't really. I couldn't really.
Okay. Well, I can put up a link to Leo Taxil so people can find out more about it. Okay, but carry on.
Yeah. There's plenty of great stuff on Wikipedia on Leo Taxil.
Yeah.
But it's more. Let's go back to the point of the Palladian Rite. The reason I mention it is because the Palladian Rite identifies 4 people as the leaders, and that would be Albert Pike, Lord Palmerston, of the Prime Minister of England. What's his name? Bismarck. And Giuseppe Mazzini.
Okay, yeah.
And these people have an undoubted connection to the occult, especially Albert Pike.
Right.
And who was it that revealed, what's his name? The Canadian author of Pawns in the Game. Fantastic book, which unfortunately is lacking in notes or references.
Yes, I have the name of him on my tongue. I'm going to search for it quickly here. I think I'll think of it. Yes, okay.
And so apparently Albert Pike wrote a letter that outlined a plan for 3 world wars.
William Guy Carr.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the three world wars were supposed to be the first one against the Soviet Union, the third one against, they basically would create the Nazis. And then the third one would be between the Muslims and the Zionists. And this is interesting because Lord Palmerston was this is revealed in a book by Robert Dreyfus called Hostage to Khomeini. Lord Palmerston, who was supposedly a partner with Pike in the Palladian Rite, was part of what's called the Oxford Movement. And the Oxford Movement, I'll get back to that maybe, created a plot to spread Scottish Rite Freemasonry to the Middle East. Participating in this plot was Edward Bulwer Lytton. Edward Bulwer Lytton was the leader of the English Rosicrucians. And the man who was their agent was a guy named Jamal Uddin al-Afghani, who was a notorious imposter, but notorious if you knew what he was up to. He's still very well regarded in many Islamic circles. He created what's called the Salafi reform movement of Islam, but he was actually also the Grand Master of the Egyptian Freemasons. And the Salafi movement morphed into the Muslim Brotherhood, of which bin Laden is a member.